chapter. We are continuing with our differentiation, and today we are going to look at second derivatives. Okay, in our first parts we talked about derivative. We said this is the answer you get after differentiating, and we said differentiating in simple terms, in mathematical terms, is just dy over dx. We also said that the word differentiating actually is this, the dy over dx. And we said that this dy dx, when we talk about it in terms of a curve, it will mean that the derivative we get when we are differentiating an equation of a curve is called the gradient of that curve at a particular point. Sometimes it is given in the question, but today we are going to focus on the second derivative. Just like the title is, the second derivative is got after getting the first derivative. Now this here is the first derivative, okay? So if we want to get the second derivative, okay, second derivative is represented, we shall use the word represented by, so instead of writing this second derivative, this we said is the first derivative, okay? This is how we write the first derivative. Now for the second derivative we write it like this, okay? We write it like this. This here is the second derivative, okay? So we read this as the second derivative of y with respect to x, while this one is the first derivative of y with respect to x. Alright, let's get some examples and see how this is asked. Okay, example 1. Okay, if we have a function, so if y equals x cubed plus 5x squared minus 3x plus 2, okay, I'll say find the second derivative, like that. So if you see this, it means they're asking you to find the second derivative, and in order to get the second derivative, it is a must that you have to get the first derivative. Alright, so we shall say dy dx. Remember in the previous series, the previous episodes, we say that if y is on the left and the variable on the right is x, then we shall write it like this. So just imagine if this was y and this side we had a k, then instead of the x down here we shall have a k. If we had an s instead of the y, and on the right hand side we had the L, then the y will change. The one on the left takes the numerator and the one on the right takes the denominator. So these variables change. It's not a must that all equations will have y and x, although it is what is mostly used, but sometimes it changes. So you need to be flexible, alright? Okay, so let's focus on the question. So like we did in the we looked at the rules, we shall apply them immediately. So this is 3x squared, okay, 2 times 5 is 10, then 2 minus 1 is 1, so we get 10x, and then this, the multiple, scalar multiple comes outside, and the x dx is 1, so this is what we get. Now this here is the first derivative. Now if we want to get the second derivative, we are going to differentiate the first derivative again. Alright, so this will be now 6, applying all the rules. Don't forget all the rules of the differentiation. So this is 6x, 2 minus 1 is 1, so 6x, plus the 10 is a multiple, it's scalar multiple, so it's pulled out, and this here is our second derivative, and that's it. Okay, guys, do you understand? I hope you do. Let's continue to another example. Given that y equals 5 over 2x minus 3 whole cube, find the second derivative with respect to x. Alright, so we can solve this. By first getting the first derivative. Okay, now from this we can say that y is the same as 5 into 2x minus 3 but to the power of negative 3. We looked at this, and I told you that this comes from the indices, the laws of indices, the negative powers and everything. So this is how we write it. And now working out the first derivative, the 3 has to come down here. Okay, the 3 has to come down here, so multiplied by 5 we get negative 15. Alright, but after that we have to differentiate this again. Anyway, let's take it slow. Maybe you have forgotten some things about our last lesson, and say let u equal to 2x minus 3. Okay, let u equals to x minus 3. So now y will be 5u to the power of negative 3. And now I hope you still remember our chain rule. So chain rule is dy dx is equal to dy du times du dx. Okay, so from here dy du would be negative 15u, so power negative 4, because from the negative 3 we take off a 1. Okay, and then from the du dx, now we're talking about this, we shall say when you differentiate the 2, it is a multiplier, so it will be carried out just like fractions. So it will be 2, and then dx is 1, and 3 dx is 0, so we just get the 2. Now dy dx, as you can see, is dy du, which is negative 15u power negative 4 times du dx is here, just 2. Okay, so working this out, we shall say dy dx is negative 30, u is 2x minus 3, alright, and then this is negative 4, alright. Okay, so this is the first derivative. Now getting the second derivative, we have to differentiate this again. So you can do the same process, letting u equal to that, let y equal to that, and using the chain rule you can work it out for your practice. Alright, so when you work it out, you can also go directly and say this is u. Okay, so negative 4 times negative 30, we get a positive 120. Okay, so this is u, so we shall get it back, but we have to differentiate it again. We take from the 4, we take away 1, so we get negative 5, and when we differentiate the bracket we get 2. Alright, so our second derivative would be 120 into 2, oh, I beg your pardon, it's not 120 now, we have to multiply by 2 now, so it will be 240 into 2x minus 3 to the power of negative 5. Okay, so this will be our second derivative. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I hope you understood. We introduced second derivatives, and I showed you how to write them, how they are annotated. We saw how the second derivative can be obtained, but remember you have to get the first derivative and then the second derivative. Okay, in our next series about differentiation, we're going to talk about further differentiation. Okay, we're going to see how differentiation goes from graduates actually from what we've looked at to another level, and as we continue, you'll see how we apply all this that we've looked at in these first lessons. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed, I hope you understood, I hope you took some notes. Subscribe, watch, like, share, and see you in our next session. Bye bye.